Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Rad Conversations. This week, we have Rudy again with us, and he's going to share what heaven was like during his near-death experience. The way he describes heaven, it's a square-shaped spaceship. All that and more coming up on this episode. And remember, if you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and share. All right, let's join back up with Rudy as he's discussing his near-death experience. So when the doors opened up and you guys go through the doors, you're not looking up, you're looking down. Is there a floor? Is there tables or chairs in there? Or, I mean, what do you see inside the doors?
Okay, so imagine an Olympic stadium. So I'm going into, like the largest field you can imagine, right? But it's not grass, but it's made of this, the flooring's like a marble floor. And there are these huge pedestals on either side of me. And I say that because I'm not looking up, but I could see to the left and right. Uh, I could see these huge ornate pillars, but so out of this room, it's just blasting light, it's just blasting through like a strength of the sun. And these pillars are off on the side, and I could tell that they have gems embedded in them, like really, like, diamonds, rubies, all kinds of gems in them. And when I would look at them, they would start talking. It was like they were little recordings of the person who had experienced something in their life, and they were like talking to me, and I couldn't pay attention to them, and I couldn't remember the conversation because they weren't the most important thing that was in front of me. This brilliant light that's like flowing over me because I'm looking down, but I could see that they had these little gems in them that were telling stories, and looking to the right and to the left, but even on the left and the right it was like a coliseum, and people were in the stands, and they were all like watching a show. Uh, Here I am, this punk military guy who didn't have much to show for myself, but they were like cheering me on, and they were off to either side, and it's like everybody I will ever know, everyone I'll ever experience in my life, not just before that day, but all the way to the end of my life. It's like they were all there. Anybody I had any experience with in my life up till the moment of my death were all there, watching me grow as a human being, or I don't know. I mean, it seemed to me like they were just cheering me on and wishing me the best. Imagine, go ahead.
So the stadium is full with these people. It's everybody you've met up to that point in your life at 19, or you're saying people that you will meet later in life were there also?
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody.
Everybody.
In your 100 years down here, everybody you're going to come across. So I was there actually.
Right.
Possibly.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Anybody that I had any contact with, who was there to see, kind of like this is you. We're waiting for you to finish your life and go do something with it. And it was imagine a little child who has just been born, and they're taking their first steps, and how proud everybody who sees that child taking their first steps. People on either side of me were there to witness this part of my life, and they were cheering me on.
And I don't think we're meant to understand everything down here. I think we're down here living the human experience. If you can even articulate, how would that be possible if we're all up there with you at 19 and I've just met you this week?
Well, I'm pretty sure I know. There's no such thing as time. So if you can have the perspective that everything that we're going to do has already been done. It's already happened. It's a recording. It's a program. It's it's on the hard drive somewhere, right? So it's there. Everything that you will experience in your life is recorded, and how you interacted with others is recorded, and your life will be touched by others, and how you will touch other people's lives. It's recorded. It's there. It's all there. It's already happened. There's no past tense, present tense. So it, I mean, there's a present tense, but in the present tense, imagine if everything's already happened and now you're just there, experiencing your life. And I wasn't shown at that moment, what I would do in the future. These people were celebrating me. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing or a good thing. I think it was just, I was curious,
Right.
what are all these people doing here? But they seem to be cheering me on, and they're celebrating who I was. And it's kind of like they expected more from me, but I felt like they were happy that I was there.
And seeing everybody up there, I know you're with your head down, you're looking around a little bit, you got gemstones talking to you, and everything I've heard, you could take this all in. Like it's not, you don't have to be focused on one thing. You can take in everything going on around you and process it and understand what's going on when you're up there.
I didn't actually see them. I turned my head and I could hear them. But
Gotcha.
imagine, I'm not looking up because I don't want to chance dying, right? But I could hear them, but I could almost locate them. Think about bat geolocating. I could just experience that they're there. You know what I mean? I could experience that that person is going to be in my life at some point in my future. It doesn't see the future, but I could experience that they were going to be in my life, or they were in my life, or they were currently in my life. So if you're in timelessness, you can imagine that it's already happened. Everything that's going to happen has already happened. And
It's
so I
beautifully
knew.
explained. And I agree with you. I think time is a man-made construct and stuff. So that's a beautiful way to describe all that. So
So
you're walking into the stadium. You feel everybody around you. You're going forward, and then what happens, Rudy?
well, I wasn't walking. I was kind of like crawling. Imagine I'm just kind of like crawling forward with my head all the way almost touching the ground. And so, like I said, when I looked to the left and right, it wasn't. I'm literally trying to not look up. So I'm crawling forward, and then I come on this like a red carpet kind of. It was a red carpet. It's exactly what it was. A red carpet, and so this red carpet is going along, and I'm crawling along to it, and I'm starting to get the, feeling that something's going to happen here, right? Because I come up to some steps. So there's steps, and they're really tall steps, so I kind of have to go on them one at a time, and then I get to the top of the step, and right in front of me, imagine, they're right in front of me. I'm not able to see over it, but they're right in front of me. It's like I'm at uh, and their ball of light is there. Even though I'm not looking up, I can sense it, but also sense that there were these other beings floating around as well. And they were like floating, at least one of them was floating above the light. And then there was these beings on the sides. They were like, kind of like the judge and jury and the scribe. And they were there at that appointed time to judge me. I was in a courtroom, and I didn't feel like I was being judged for what I did wrong. I was being judged for what I did right. And that wasn't very much. I mean, I had mostly experienced love from others. I had experienced kindness from others, compassion from others. I have been shown, well, being treated with dignity by others. I had experienced the beauty of the earth. And I was reminded, it was like when I got up there, it was like, it's time for me to, you know, speak up for myself, because this Jesus like being was saying, hey, you got to put your best foot forward in there. This is your chance, right? He didn't actually say it in words. He like communicated from the center of himself to the center of myself. And the judge, that what's important about this judge is that I was kind of expecting, this macho God guy, and that's not what I got. The being I experienced as God-like was a feminine, uh, version of God. It was like a grandmotherly kind of God. And then I experienced this feminine version of what I would call God. And it was joyful. It was like, here's what you did up to now. And I'm very happy with that. You know, what you did here during your little 10-minute video clip, that you have experienced love and kindness, compassion. Uh, you've been shown dignity, even if you didn't deserve it. And that I didn't hear that "didn't deserve it" part. Okay, that would be an implication of something negative. I just felt like, I'm watching you as a child, and you're taking your first steps. That's what I felt, and that this is what we noticed that you did, and this is what we really like about you, and how you treated other people in these really very few times. And this is what was shown to you, love that was shown to you, and uh, what you gave. I was happy that I was there, and that I was checking in here, and the light spoke to me, and it said something, and it wasn't really a question, like a rhetorical question. Did you learn enough about love? And my answer was, well, I had never been married, and I've never had children. And so it was like that moment. It was like that instantly. I had been judged, and I had made the decision that I had not been married and not had children, and I was ejected out of the this stadium, and I landed, um, you know, on a road. And to people talk about streets of gold. Well, I actually was on a golden road, but it wasn't like physical gold, like metal gold. It was just a golden color, like a translucent gold color, a road. It was really wide, and I'm at this point I'm like one of those eggs, like in that Jesus-like being. And I'm like, and you can see inside of it. Imagine there's like you're this egg-like being, but you can see through it, or like an amoeba, you could see through it, and inside of it there were like little gears, and they were turning. They weren't like metal gears; they were just like in an amoeba. You have it turns and things like that. And I saw all these eggs on the road going forward down this golden road, and they all had different little gears in them. They weren't all the same; they were all different. And I just noticed how they weren't all human. They were all kinds of beings, and that just made me really question, what were they? We were going
How,
along this road. Go ahead.
how many egg shapes did you see in front of you, and could you make out the other beings inside the shapes of the eggs, or were they just kind of a blurry? You knew something was there, but you couldn't make out, if they were human or if they were from Mars or from wherever. But how many eggs did you see in front of you?
Well, hundreds. I mean, they weren't blurry. They were just translucent.
Okay.
So imagine if you have an amoeba, for example. I'm trying to use that because that's the best example I can come up with. But you looked it through a microscope, right? And it has the little wheels running around in it, gears. And so I would just see all these beings, and I knew that not all of them were human beings. I didn't know what they were exactly, but I knew that they weren't human, and they were moving forward along this road. This road is huge and it's long, and everybody's lining up to go to the end of it. But off on the sides, I noticed that there were all these landscapes. Imagine a landscape where every single flower is in the best health of its life, and it's irradiating health, and trees and shrubs, and all kinds of beautiful landscapes. Some were manicured, like for a palace, but others were just wildscapes, and everything was beautiful, amazing. The beauty was so crazy. But I completely skipped over a really important part of what I experienced here, though. It's the music. There was this music there that was so beautiful. And imagine that you had, and I had experienced it earlier, but I also had experienced it at this point. And the music was so beautiful. Imagine that everybody is singing in this choir, but also their musical instruments, every kind of musical instrument, even though it was every kind of instrument and every voice, but everybody's voice was at the perfect pitch.
Mm.
It's like imagine that everybody's musical instrument was playing in this perfect synchronicity, like with the other instruments, even though they all sounded way different from each other. There was every kind of musical instrument. And I heard all this beautiful music, and it was crazy beautiful music. And I knew that when you go to that place, whatever it is, you're going to have a perfect voice, not like my my deep, crackly voice, but a perfect voice. And
The,
it was singing along as I'm going along the road, and it was just kind of interesting how the music was so beautiful there.
can you compare the music to anything we've heard down here, or is it just completely nothing that we're used to?
Okay, well, imagine an orchestra, but inside of the orchestra, not only do you have violins and harps and what you think of it heavenly, right? But there were also guitars and every kind of instrument that I've never heard of. Okay, imagine every kind of imagine the most rough rock music ever, music, whatever. Everything was somehow in harmony with one another. There was no good or bad music. It was all the best version of that musical instrument, that voice. It was like in harmony with the other ones. All of them to combine with this huge orchestra, and they were singing, and it was beautiful singing. And what the words were, I can't I can't say it with my own voice. I don't know how to say what I heard as long as far as the words were concerned, because it's like I don't know if it could be said here. I don't know, because voices on Earth, they sound almost like barking or yelling, or it's not the same thing as what I heard there.
Do you think you were having a private concert, like all that was for you, or do you think all the um, beings there were hearing the same music, or do you think they were tuned into a different channel and they were hearing something different?
Harmony is one of the things that comes to mind. I'm not a musician, but it wasn't for me. Imagine the background music of going through a store, right? The background music, right? It's like the second best thing next to the light. The light's the best thing, and this love is the best thing. But the next best thing was this music, which was really cool, and it was great and beautiful and you know awesome. Uh, I say that, and I mean that, but then something while I'm walking along this road, something gives me pause, and something's not quite right. And I had this thought, imagine a thought bubble, right? Quote unquote. I've done this many times before, and I'm not saying I had near-death experiences before, but I'm saying that had experienced leaving this place many times before. Like man, like I'm almost unlimited, but I'm just saying I don't have a recollection of exactly how many. I just know it many, many times before.
So
And
reincarnation.
well, I'm not going to go there exactly reincarnation. I'm saying that somehow whoever whoever Rudy is doesn't matter, but there's some person who I am. That's a collection of maybe everyone. I don't know. I don't know if it's everyone. It may just be the ones that I was interested in. It might be my soul family. I hate to stick to just reincarnation. There's probably more to it than just being born again in another body over and over. It's almost, I'll try to get to that a little later. Can I collect my thoughts for that later? It's like that wasn't what was important at the moment, but I had just thought, hey, something's wrong here. I've done this many times before. And it wasn't that I thought it was a bad thing or anything. It's just that something's wrong. I've done this many times before. So I'm going along, and I notice how the eggs, or the translucent eggs, were walking along, kind of like you can see them walking and slithering and crawling, jumping and hopping, but they're all going along, you know, this road. And then I go through a very, very tall, uh, I won't say door, like a just opens up into darkness. I know there's not a physical door like you can open or close. It's just like a walking through it. And so I walk through this extremely dark door. And I look down and it's completely dark. And then as I'm going down, I look up over my shoulder. And I don't know if I have a physical shoulder at that point, but I look what I think of as my shoulder. I could feel like I had a body. And I looked over my shoulder and I noticed that all these eggs were like all falling out of this black door. They were like little lights, little light bulbs, right? Like all falling out. These eggs, and they were all falling out, and they were following behind me, but they weren't like going straight down like in a line, like like in a row. They were like going off like in a crazy ladder. Imagine the Chinese dragon, where they see those in China with all those people in it. But imagine
Yeah, yeah.
that. But these are all little points of light here, and they're all falling behind me. And I see them coming out of the door, but then I look to my left and right of those things, and I notice that this place, I would probably call heaven, maybe, was really a huge square. I mean, call it what it is, like a spaceship. It's like a huge square. Imagine a perfect cube. I mean, I didn't see all the sides of it, but but if you see a cube, imagine if you're this little bitty, tiny ball of light and you're falling out, and as you go away, you're fading away from it. You notice that you can see a side, right? And you can sense that it's a cube. That's what it was, like a huge spaceship, and it's pretty interesting to me to see it. I mean, I didn't have any perspective that that's what it was. I mean, I'm not from my religion or anything. Maybe it was. It's somebody told me that they read in their religious text that heaven is square.
The
So it's in.
the square structure, is it the size of a football field, a city block, or a country? I mean, reference. I know it's time and space, but like just like the size of Earth. How big is a structure that you see as a square?
This isn't from me, measuring it or anything, but it was so huge that it could collectively keep everything in it. I mean, if we're all a program or a little story, that the part where our stories was just a very small part of this place. I mean, the story of every single butterfly, every beetle, every human, every tree, everything that had any kind of experience, it was all collected there. That was just in these alcoves and in the room that went on forever and ever. But there was also massive amounts of beings there. So to say it looked like a size of a country, or I didn't, actually go out and measure it because I didn't imagine my perspective as this little bitty tiny ball of light. And looking back, it looked gigantic, huge. But for me to be able to say, well, it was this length, I didn't contemplate that at the time. I felt myself moving I'm in motion, right? And I turn around and I see a couple of little stars down below me, right? And I see that I'm zooming past the stars. Wherever it is, that spaceship heaven, it's beyond the stars. It's not like hovering above Venus or Mars. It's beyond that by some huge margin. It's a long, long ways. And I started seeing stars go by from the edge of darkness. And occasionally I would look over my shoulder and I'd see these bulbs of light, and I would see them peeling off and going to different stars. And they would peel off to my left and right, just because that's what I could see from my perspective. I couldn't see out of the back of my head. I had to literally turn what my figuratively, I mean, I didn't actually see my body at that point. I look behind me, I would see them, and they would just peel off going to wherever they went. And I just knew for certain that the differences between human beings, being Muslim or black or white or Hispanic or Christian or Muslim or atheist, agnostic, that the differences between us is so minute compared to the differences between these balls of light that were going off to different places. But I saw something inside of them that it felt like love. It was a sense that there was this general thing that was with each one of them, that was love. And whatever it was, they were not. But I was moving forward, and then I started seeing the planets flying by in our solar system. And I kept on going past all these planets. And then I see on way down below, I see a little bitty tiny blue marble. And I knew that was Earth.
Thanks for watching the show, folks. We're going to have Rudy on the next episode to continue discussing his near-death experience. Now, if you're enjoying the show, please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, like always, stay rad.